Welcome back to Joy and Gratitude. We are so excited to have another episode. And today I am going to let my co host, Beth Mercurio, make the decision as what to our topic is.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Yes, it's Beth. I'm back again. Nio, so good to see you. And look at for those of you that can't see Nio, she is rocking red and she has got these incredible glasses that are red too. So she's got quite the vibe going, kind of an electric power vibe. And it is right in line with what we're going to talk about today, which is the red car theory. And Nio, will you share a little bit about, because I know we talked about this and you were so jazzed enough to kind of literally wear an outfit to represent today, which I love. About the red car theory and how it came up for you, and then let's just dive into what it means and how we can help use that theory to show up as who we want to every day.
The mind is such a powerful thing, and we just don't give it credit enough. And it's because we don't realize the fact that it gets developed so early in our life, that we end up just living our life. But the red car theory, and we all know it. It's when you remember when you were a kid and you were going for rides with your family, and someone would say, "Okay, can you pick out all the cars that are, let's say, red?" And before you had that intent in your mind and that focus to look for a red car, you never really noticed them. However, as soon as that became your focus, it seems like every car that was on the road was red. And it's almost like you brought in the red energy. So the red car theory is, if your intent is to a thing, you will surround yourself and you will find yourself in the space of that thing. Now, the thing about it could be good and it could be bad. Beth, explain further.
Yeah, I mean, I love this idea. It's sort of like where you put your attention, your energy follows, right? So, the example of that, as you mentioned, a car, that's fun. And oh my gosh, I literally went right back to the family road trip, right? Like,
Right?
absolutely. I was like, oh my God, yes, I did that in this station wagon with my family.
Yeah.
So, I love that example because it's something I'm sure many of us can kind of connect with. But the same thing, if you are ruminating about something, if something is bothering you and you keep in that space, then you will stay in that space. So I think, thinking about it and realizing we talk about being stuck, we talk about untangling. So being tangled up and being stuck can often be closely related to where you're putting your attention. If you wake up every day and you're worried about something, then that's where your attention is going to be. You're going to stay in the space of worry. And so I love this idea that owning the goodness and owning the power to actually switch to the other side. So if you're ruminating about something, and I use the word ruminating because that keeps coming up. I keep hearing a lot of my friends. I know we've talked about eat, move, sleep. And one of the things we talked about with that book was sleep. I kept saying is really hard. I'm finding a lot of people in my life are struggling with sleep. And they keep saying that it's because of this rumination and
Right.
that they just start to ruminate. So similarly, I think we do that. We don't even know it, but our attention is on that thing. So what if we use the power of choice to say, I'm going to shift my mindset to choose to think about something different. And I can't help but talk about gratitude. Just like I cannot help. And then you could go talk about joy, and here we are again. But if you say to yourself in that moment where you are ruminating and you are worried and you are sort of spiraling and you're feeling stuck and tangled, if you could just pause and go, okay, the last thing I want to do is think about what I'm grateful for. I have a lot of clients where I'm like, so what are you grateful for? And their face is like, nothing. Like
Mm.
I am not grateful right now. And I just let them, I sit, because the reality is the instinct to not be grateful because you're stuck and tangled and frustrated and angry and hurt and sad and all of those things that are associated with that, you can always still find something that you're grateful for. So I just let them
Yeah.
sit until they realize, of course, there's something that they're grateful for. And then they move into that space. And once they move into that space, we have left being that stuck in that moment and we're able to move out. It doesn't mean you don't come back, but it does give you this opportunity to see other things. Find the red car. Find, like, sometimes for a lot of people it's just being out in nature and starting to look around and using sort of like your peripheral vision to see other things. Just start to see things that you did not notice before, as you mentioned. And sometimes you just need to be intentional. The red car theory is stating somebody said, how many red cars can you find? You were incentivized to look for that. And then you shifted. So how can you create your own incentives? How can you create your own shift, whether that be gratitude, whether that be a mindfulness walk, whatever it could be? And I'd love to hear, some of the things that you think about that can move you from something that has got you stuck and ruminating to something that's more helpful and allows you to shift away from that for a bit.
What comes to mind is curiosity.
Mm.
And, you know, we all get stuck. It's a human nature situation. I mean, it comes with fear, right? So that's one of the staples in humanity is that we're going to have fear. Uh, and it's all how we handle the different levels of fear. So that's how we end up stuck. But if we also shift ourselves into curiosity, which is what we do in coaching, we usually ask the question, what if what you think is going to happen happened? What would be the worst thing that could happen? And then you start being curious. And how really would it impact you? How long would it impact you? And you again continue into the curiosity of the reality of things. And we all know that 85% of the things we're scared of never happen.
Mm.
That's just a fact. So the question here is, are we willing to just breathe and be a little bit curious? And the red car theory is wonderful because it does let you wander the mind into finding something new, something that you may have not looked at before. However, it can be dangerous too. And I'll explain why.
Yeah.
You could get so fixated on that, finding that red car or a particular topic that you miss everything else that's around that can
Mm.
actually add to your life, add to your perspective. And I was talking to actually a psychologist about the red car theory this week. And she said, in the last few weeks, I've been going through a lot of physical issues. And, we were talking and she says, you've been reading a lot about your diseases, haven't you? And I said, yeah, I'm trying to figure this thing out. And she says, how about reading about how you could feel better? What are the things that make you feel better?
Mm.
So, what that was, she was saying is we could use the same red car theory to get addicted to a certain thing and block out everything else. So, she gave me the challenge of actually staying away from reading about my diseases and focusing on myself. So, um, do she says maybe you do a little social media fast. Maybe you do a medical diagnosis Mayo Clinic fast that you don't touch it for a while, and it just gave me that perspective of I actually started doing it the day that we spoke, and I started feeling better.
Hmm.
Because what happened and what had been happening was, and I'm not cured. Uh, uh, I was anticipating the pain. I was anticipating when the next symptom was going to come. I was literally preparing myself for the worst to the point that I was always in the pain, in the symptoms, in everything, because all I was doing like if I was a defender, I was in a game and I'm blocking, I was just doing the blocking and tackling
Yes.
instead of living.
Oh,
So, yes, the red card theory lets us look out, but not to the point, never in excess, nothing in excess, not to
mhm.
the point that you miss the white car, the blue car, the yellow car, the green car. Count those as contributors to the road, even though you love that red car.
What a beautiful analogy, thinking about just even seeing all the colors of the cars. How about that? That's mindful even in of itself. Like taking something as simple as we just drive down that road. It's like, no, notice what's on the road, who's on the road with you, all the different things. But one of the things you said that is it's sort of like tangential to the topic, but I'm feeling like we're going to talk about it is this idea of fear and how we fear so much and then so much doesn't come to fruition. But we that's that worry, right? When I think about being tangled and ruminating, it's that sort of fear of something, sometimes just the unknown.
Right.
And right. And as you were talking and you were talking about sort of being fixated and needing a little bit of a push to say, Neo, I think there's a little too much attention on this right now. Like
Right.
that's a watch out for all of us. I feel like what came up for me was this idea of FOMO and this like fear of missing out and thinking about my children and social media and this almost fear that if you're not on it that you're going to be missing out. And I had this beautiful moment the other day where my daughter is taking because you said like fast on a certain thing like you were talking
Right.
about, you're looking up your medical diagnoses, etc. And she just has decided to sort of get off of Snapchat a little bit. Like it's just she's moving a little bit away from that and which I think is great. Like self decision to do that herself. And people are calling her on her Snapchat and she doesn't hear the calls cuz she's not on Snapchat. And it
Right.
was this great moment where she had to tell the person like, "Listen, if you want to call me, can you just use my phone?" And I was like cheering in the background because I was like, that's like a movement. That's just sort of like a maturation around, the use of a phone. But she had to make that choice. And it took her a really long time to make that choice for herself because of the fear of missing out. She was concerned that if she wasn't constantly on an app or constantly responding, because that particular app, it's
Right.
like that's how you converse by constantly like gosh, what I can't even I'm missing the terms. I'm dating myself, but that you have the what is it called?
You're gonna.
Like
I
you
can't
have to
even.
respond. It's like
So
what's it called?
okay.
A streak. The streak.
Okay.
Like you can't
So
break
I'm
a
gonna be
streak.
honest with you. I don't know anything about Snapchat. I know
See?
nothing.
It's like there you go, which is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, but they have these streaks, which is like you can't leave somebody unopened.
Oh,
Like it
really?
is an yes. So it's like if you leave somebody unopened, then you can potentially lose a streak with them. So there's this
Wow.
constant interaction. So to remove yourself from that is kind of a big deal. But I guess my point is this whole idea was so much of that was driven by fear, like fear of missing out, fear of lack of connection, fear of, and that sometimes you have to do that hard thing. You have somebody has to sort of say to you, like, you're fearing something that isn't really going to happen. Like you're not going to lose your connection. And now look, her friend is going to call her. She just has to shift. So it's just like ask for what you need, make different moves, but definitely realize that you have that agency and control to make a different choice that gets you out of that feeling of fear or like addiction. I mean, those are kind of some of the words that come to mind for me that
Yeah.
you're just stuck in that place. So it's like repeated pattern of behavior and I love the kick in the pants that we all need sometimes a friend to sort of
Mhm.
say, I think maybe you need to look somewhere else, maybe be open. You talked about curiosity, and I feel like openness and curiosity go hand in hand. We always talk
Absolutely.
about that at the leadership level, right? Please be open and curious. And again, I think that goes to your open part, which is sort of like, what else could I be looking at? right? What other things could I do that may be like a little bit healthier for me or more fulfilling for me? And do I even know what those are? And if not, we go back to this. Can we play around? Can we experiment? You don't have to know what that other thing is. Just know that you don't want it to be what you're currently doing.
Yeah. And there's no growth if we stay in the same lane over and over again. There's a natural nature to want to be comfortable because comfortable is in some ways safe, right?
Hmm.
You don't have to really make a movement. You're comfortable, you're staying in your lane. But there is no growth in comfortable. Only through being uncomfortable do we identify our full potential. Do we identify where we can grow and how we can make change happen in a positive nature. And even if it goes wrong, you get the opportunity to pivot. You get the opportunity to do something
Yes.
different. Um, you know, I spent a lot of time in different innovation channels, and a lot like Mike, your husband. We kind of spent a lot of time together in different meetings and those type of things. And what we're hearing as we're talking about innovation and we're talking about artificial intelligence, AI agents, um, and complex models of machine learning, the biggest thing that is what's stopping us is the fear of being uncomfortable, the
Mm.
fear of moving forward and doing something different. And the way that in our businesses models fail is because people are trying to mimic the past with new technology. So, and I know that it's strange that we're talking about technology, but it's human nature. It's what we do in our business, but it's what we do in our life also. We just keep repeating it. Think about when you get a new piece of cooking machine, the air fryer, perfect example. Everybody, the first time that they got their air fryer, burnt the heck of whatever it is they were cooking because they treated it like it was an oven and they didn't realize how to do the translation in minutes from the oven to the air fryer. Or, they just overcooked something, even if they didn't burn it. And it's the whole thing of getting us out of our comfort zone to be a whole person and experience our whole life through curiosity, through being able to understand that there's more than the red car, that there's more than what we can even imagine. That is really the pivot points. And the older we get, the beauty of getting older is that we stop caring about external validation. We
Hmm.
start look seeking our own path because we have nothing to lose. We just
Yeah.
have nothing to lose.
And this goes to our different episode on wisdom, which is
Yes.
the amazing part is that that's wisdom. Like we have learned that is a learned experience, but how if we can keep sharing that, especially in a world where there's this hyper focus and sort of speed around technology right now. I think everybody's a little bit like, whoa, like what's happening, right?
Yeah.
And I will one thing that you said that I have to it's taking me still back to technology and my daughters. You said things beyond what you can imagine. Like
Yes.
if you move past the car. And imagination, I feel like is the most powerful tool to creativity, to innovation. And I do think, research shows that the children that are a bit like growing up in this phone and tech times, they're not using their imagination because they don't have to, because everything is right there for them. And, I actually just was introduced, I haven't read it, but I had like a little bit of a training on the Dopamine Nation, which is a book
Yeah.
that's sort of like how we're constantly firing off for that high,
Hmm.
and that the technology is feeding that for a lot of these kids. And I have an example which is so beautiful because it just shows like there's hope. you can undo it, which is one of the best things that we have, is like, this is true, and there are steps that we can take to get back some of our brain around imagination, and not always searching and find looking for that dopamine rush. And so when I recently went on a vacation with my children, and we went to a place where the whole idea was kind of to do nothing. It was like, there's nothing to do here. This isn't like a vacation where we have all these plans. The plan is to sit, relax, decompress post final exams, have a little downtime before the summer jobs and craziness happens. That was the intention. And after like 2 days of resting, they were literally like, what are we going to do for the next week? Like, there was like a fear
Mhm.
of, I think a little bit of like FOMO, like my friends are all doing all these things and I'm not with my friends. I don't want to just be on my phone all the time, but like what? And what I am now realizing, because fast forward 7 days later, they didn't take their phone anywhere. So it was like the habit was, I'm always on my phone and this is how I interact. And they didn't remember almost how to get creative in how to use their time.
Yep.
So it was like, oh, wait, what could I do? And all of a sudden, they started to get more creative with their time. They started to choose to do things that were not related to their phone. And by the end of the week, they were leaving their phone. And I remember my face, like they would be like, I don't need to bring my phone, right? And I was like, no, you do not need to bring your phone. But that was a habit shift. And it took, I'm going to tell you, it was like at the very end of the trip. So after a full week where they had the freedom and they realized that there was something that their body and soul craved about not having to be on that phone all the time. But that was so uncomfortable in
Mhm.
the first few days that they expressed fear and panic around, what will I do with all of this spaciousness? That was uncomfortable. And they had to sit in that because we weren't going anywhere. We didn't change the vacation. They had to figure out what to do. And the reality is, the beauty of it is, they did figure it out. And then they got to finally feel the benefits and the joy of using their brains, using their bodies, moving, sleeping. They became so creative with the meals they would cook. Like, it became exciting. The things
Mhm.
that maybe they forgot about started to become important and exciting again. And I hadn't really thought as much about it as when we're talking about it now, I go, aha, this is an example of being in that place where you're so comfortable that you don't even know what's possible. And then getting uncomfortable and sitting through it to get to the other side. So this upside on the other side, this growth and this, sort of potential and imagination and creativity, all of that is what sits on the other side of discomfort.
Absolutely. And you know what's really interesting? The reason that America has always thrived has been because of imagination.
Yes.
It's been because America was a solving engine. They solved the things that made life difficult. You know, it didn't matter where it came from, but somebody had the idea of solving a problem. And what brought to mind when you talked about imagination, from the ages of birth through 5 is when our imagination is at its
Mm.
strongest. And there's a test that's called the Torrance Imagination Test that they give children. And since 1990, late 1990s, when there were internet type toys introduced to children, the scores have gone down. And just like you said, and the only reason I'm repeating is so that people
Yeah.
know that you can fix this as early
Yes.
as childhood, even though we've given our kids the phones, the tablets. You see these little kids, they're bouncing around with the tablet everywhere they go.
Yeah.
Take away the tablet and give them a box. And it's been said that within 15 minutes, the child will turn the box into a house, a spaceship, uh, a car. In their brain, it's something else than just a box. And the imagination comes back. So,
Comes back.
reality is, we all have the strength to solve anything if we're willing to pause, which we talk about a lot, be curious,
Yes.
and be accountable that you are more than your comfort.
Mm. And can I just add to that, this idea of community too, like the
Yes,
support? So we can
absolutely.
each feel it, but I have a family relative, and they're in a middle school, and their middle school is trying to get all of the parents to sign up to say they will not give phones to their children before 8th grade. And I am like, that is amazing. So again, like this is one school district, but the realization that people are starting to realize we can fix it. Like
Yeah,
we're learning that maybe there's some things that aren't so great. And if we can come together, like we can believe it individually, like you mentioned, sort of personal accountability, but then like imagine the beautiful community accountability that will also enable it to be like, because the kids love to say, well, they get to do it. It's kind of how it all starts. They have
right.
it. I don't, and if everybody goes, nope, actually, we've all decided this is what we're going to do. So I love it. It is very hopeful to realize we can always shift and change. We can always shift and change and hold ourselves accountable to that knowledge, and communities and support systems to help us if we need the support. Sometimes it's not easy to do it all by ourselves.
No, absolutely. And the best part of all this is that we are open to the awareness of, you know, there's more to this than my moment. And we are talking about it because we want to share this with you while you're taking your moment to just
Mhm.
say, "Hey, I'm taking a pause. What is different? What is new? What is more than what I'm seeing in front of me?" Um, and we appreciate that you're taking this pause with us. And to that point, I'm going to talk about the joy song of today. And the joy song of today is Who We Are by Red.
Mm.
Yeah, I went back.
Yeah.
I'm going back. And what I love about this song is we are undying and we will not
Mm.
be denied. We will not be denied our life. We will not be denied our ability to move forward, to grow, to live
Mhm.
completely. We will not be denied. We are who we are.
I love that.
Let's go into gratitude.
Yes. Okay. I've got the gratitude rocks here. Reaching in. Let's see. It's this beautiful turquoise color, and the word is flow. Flow. Well, I I'm so in love with this word. We use it all the time. Neo and I talk about flow almost every episode.
Mhm.
And in this one in particular, I think it's so related to when we first started. It was around where our attention goes, our energy flows. And that's really what we're talking about here,
Yes.
is like just be really thoughtful about where you're expending your energy and be in flow. And if you're not in flow, we all know what it feels like when we're not in flow, when we're stuck and we're tangled up. And that is a moment where we're hoping you heard from our conversation today, where you can start to look for other things, get your imagination back, put yourself into new circumstances, try something different, have a friend give you a little kick in the pants to start doing something different. But just always remember that energy and flow is really ultimately what we think will enable us all to show up as the humans that we want to be. And we just got to keep after that each and every day.
So well said. Our flow is our ability to untangle and to rise up, come down, but always end with a smile, with joy and gratitude. We'll see you soon. Thank you.